Welcome back to the ncloud.swiss demo. What I'm going to show you here is each of the service catalog items that you can see here on the main screen already. We're going to have a look real quick at each of those topics, what you can get behind those features and what they are all about. And you will also see further videos coming up where we will discuss each of those topics in depth, so just to give you more detailed instructions how to use them. If you log on to the ncloud.swiss portal, you will see the service catalog with all the services that are available to you as a user. First of all, you see the region monitoring, which is just kind of a monitoring that provides you some details about what's going on in your system. So some events, as you can see here, I've been logging in as a tenant at certain times, and you can go back in time and see what happened during these periods. You can also see tasks if, for example, a VM is being created or a cluster is being created. Or any type of system tasks that are running, you can see that here. Looking at the account management, first of all, it's very important to understand that the platform is multi-tenancy capable. That means you can create an account for yourself, but also then create an account for your customers, or let's say if you're an enterprise company, you create your own account for the enterprise, but then also projects for the individual departments. You can assign several users to individual departments, and you can also assign limits like resource limits, like CPU, RAM, disk space, etc. Now, the foundation of all of those services basically is the networking. If we look at the networking, first of all, what you need to do is create your own network. I've got an example here of a network that's being created for me already, which is a /24 subnet. That network has security groups enabled, and it also has a DHCP range, which is already being built as a redundant DHCP server service, so that which is always available across all the clusters, across the whole infrastructure. So that network is your foundation, and is sitting in a VLAN, so completely separated from all of the other networks. And as a second step, what you would need is a router that is attached to your network on one side. So one foot is or one arm is sitting in the internal network, and the other one is attached to the external public floating IP address, which will allow you communication from your internal network, from all your VMs or virtual machines and services out to the internet. But also you can attach a public IP address to your services that you want to make available from outside of the network. Going into the compute section, we will get an overview of what type of VMs are running in my environment, and just an overview of what the consumption looks like in terms of CPU, memory, and network utilization. And you can also get here a drill down of your virtual machines. You can see the utilization by CPU, network, send and receive, but also the memory usage for each of those VMs. If you look at the individual instances, you see here that the VMs, first of all, you get a list of all the VMs. You see again here the utilization in terms of vCPU, RAM, and disk storage. You see whether they are set as high available, whether they've got a protection group, and the status, which means they're either active, so running, or they're shut off. HA means the virtual machine is configured as being high available, which basically means that if there's an issue on the underlying node, that VM will be automatically spinned up on a second hardware node and is available immediately again. A protection is a protection group that creates snapshots of your VM based on a schedule that you can define, and then transfers that snapshot to the disaster recovery cluster. So in an emergency case, you can get back your VMs from previous snapshots, not only on the local cluster, but also on a disaster recovery cluster, which sits in a different dedicated disaster recovery data center. If you look a little bit closer at the virtual machine, you see that there's various type of functions, standard functions like importing VMs, stopping, rebooting, connecting, and also you can modify the VM. Certain functions require the VM to be stopped. But what is a very cool feature, you can just highlight the machine and you click connect, and then without the need of having a remote control software installed, you can directly within your browser connect to the console of that virtual machine, and you can log in and you can manage the machine without any additional tools. So pretty cool feature here. If you go back to the virtual machine and we select the machine to get more details, you will see here additional functions and settings related to that specific machine. You see the network settings, to which network the machine is attached, what the internal IP address is, what the public floating IP is that is assigned to the machine. You see the sizing of the machine in terms of CPU, RAM, disk space, the boot volume, which is actually stored on the block volume, on the block storage. Then you get also the network tab, where again you can see the network details. You can here modify the network, you can attach an additional network, so if your machine needs to communicate on another network, you can detach the network, etc. The floating IP section shows you the currently attached floating IP address. Here the same, you can detach it and attach another one. What is very important to understand are the security groups. If you're familiar with AWS already, you might be familiar with security groups. The concept of security groups is not having a perimeter firewall that controls the whole data flow, but you've got security groups attached to each individual virtual machine. That gives you a very granular and very high security level and allows you to completely control the traffic even within your virtual network. So you can here again attach security groups. There is a subset of services predefined that you can choose, but you can also modify individual rules by just hitting the modify button, and then you can very granularly create your own groups and specify what traffic should be allowed and what should be blocked. Now, going from compute to storage, you can see that we offer various types of storage systems. One is the object storage. That is the equivalent to AWS S3 storage, which allows you to access that storage from your VMs through the API, but also you can upload files and folders and send public links that people can access those files through HTTPS, through the web browser, and up and download files here. Second thing is the file system, which is actually a NFS file system, which allows you to create a system, a central file system within your virtual network, where you can then create targets that can be mounted from your virtual machines as a central storage. The block storage is basically the underlying storage for your virtual machine volumes. So you see here the GitLab, the web server that we created. You also see here the NFS data store that I just created before, which is your central file server. And from here, all those virtual machine VMs, but also the other data storages, they can be snapshot. You can create copies, you can clone them. There's various type of functions. Now, we've been talking more on the infrastructure as a service side now. Just remember, we've been looking at the networking, the compute functions, but also the storage. And we're going now more and more into the platform and software as a service section, where we will be talking about containers, load balancing as a service, database as a service, database clusters, but also the application marketplace. The containers section is giving you the ability, I haven't created a cluster here now, but that will allow you to just simply create a Docker cluster with multiple Kubernetes cluster nodes. So you can just easily create a cluster here within a few minutes, just as a few clicks, designing or defining how your cluster should look like, how big it is, how many instances, etc. The system will spin up the cluster for you in the background, and once done, that just takes a few minutes. Once this is up and running, you can connect to your Kubernetes instance, upload your Docker images, and you're ready to go with your Docker applications. Just imagine how much time you save here. If you compare that to building up your Docker environment from scratch, that will take you hours, if not even days or multiple days. And here you can just do that by a simple click, follow the wizard here, and you're done with your Kubernetes clusters, and you can publish your application, your Docker images, very simply and very efficient. Load balancing, we've got the basic load balancers implemented here. So you can create target groups, which is actually nothing more than a group of servers. Let's say web servers. You've got multiple web servers in the background. You create your target group. You add your virtual servers to that target group, and then you spin up your load balancer with your public IP address, the internal network, and the listeners in the background, and you've got your web application already made high available and balanced through various virtual machines. Also, very interesting feature is database as a service. This allows you to create instances just very fast and quickly for MySQL, but also Postgres databases. As you can see, there's just a few clicks you need to go through. Just type some or select a few details, and you've got your database up and running. And you can start, attaching your application to that database, and you're ready to go with a enterprise-grade database. Very fast, high available, and it's up in just a few clicks instead of hours and days. The same applies to the Cassandra cluster environment. Same here. You just click create, put in your data, choose the version, the storage, the instance type, attach the network to it, and you've got your Cassandra cluster up and running. Again here, very simple, very straightforward, and easy to use. Now, the last thing I want to show you is the applications section, and specifically the marketplace, which we are pretty proud of. The marketplace, as it is today, provides you 142 open source, free and ready to use applications that you can simply click on a specific application that you're interested in. You choose your storage pool and you hit download. What happens is our system will download the latest image of that application, store it to the image pool, and you can spin up a virtual machine, attach it to the network, and you're ready to go. There's no need to first install the VM, update the OS, download the application, install, configure the application. So all of that is done automatically in the background based on the predefined image. And as I said, you can just scroll down if you're more interested in WordPress, or if you have a specific category that you want to look at, for example a CMS system. You see here there's a whole bunch of stuff available already that you can simply download and start exploring, or even put into production. So that was it so far. Thank you very much for your interest, and if you want to get more information or check it out, go to ncloud.swiss, or just contact us through the website, and we're happy to provide you a demo or test account.